Okay, so get this. We're heading to Spain,
Sounds fun.
but not just any trip. This time we're diving into some seriously spooky stuff.
Ooh, you've been digging into the creepy side of travel again.
You know me always up for some mystery, and you found a doozy with this one, Oviedo, Spain.
Yeah, Oviedo's got this charming exterior, beautiful architecture, historic streets, but underneath it all, it's like a hotbed of folklore and legend.
And not the sweet fairy tale kind either. We're talking curses, witches, mischievous creatures. It's like someone took all the spooky tropes and dumped them right in the heart of this city.
It's a pretty wild mix, I have to admit.
So let's get started. I'm looking at your sources here, and I'm honestly not sure where to even begin. We've got everything from ghost stories to witch trials to creatures straight out of mythology. Where should we jump in first?
Well, why don't we start with one of the most iconic spots in Oviedo, the cathedral?
Ah, yes. The Oviedo Cathedral. Beautiful architecture, historic significance. But wait a minute. You're telling me this place is also haunted?
That's right. We're talking about the Curse of Aurea, a vengeful spirit said to be trapped within the cathedral walls.
Okay, so every old building has a ghost story, right? But what makes this one stand out?
Well, this curse goes back centuries, tied to a tale of betrayal and revenge. It's a pretty dramatic story, full of intrigue and heartbreak. And some say Aurea's spirit still wanders the cathedral seeking peace.
Yeah.
Or maybe revenge. Who knows?
I'm already getting chills. And as if a vengeful spirit wasn't enough, our sources also mention that the first documented medieval exorcism took place in the Oviedo Cathedral.
Yep, right there in the heart of this holy place. They had to call in the big guns to deal with some serious spiritual shenanigans.
An exorcism. Now, that's not something you hear about every day. I mean, we're not talking about a simple blessing here. This must have been some intense stuff.
It really makes you think about the beliefs of the time, right? What kind of event could lead to a full-blown exorcism in a cathedral?
It's like this one location becomes a focal point for all the spiritual anxieties and struggles of that era.
Exactly. It's a fascinating glimpse into the past.
Okay, so we've got curses and exorcisms at the cathedral. That's already pretty creepy. But then you mentioned witch trials.
Ah, yes, Oviedo has its fair share of those too. Our sources point to the Santa Inquisition trials, which took place in Plaza Porlier.
Plaza Porlier. I can already picture it. A place filled with fear and tension as the Inquisition held its trials.
The Spanish Inquisition was notorious for its methods. They didn't mess around when it came to rooting out heresy and witchcraft.
And it wasn't just limited to religious spaces either. We also have the witch trial at the University of Oviedo.
Now, that's a classroom I wouldn't want to be late for.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Imagine being a student back then trying to cram for your exams while also worrying about being accused of witchcraft.
It really highlights the power of fear and superstition at the time. You have this place of learning dedicated to knowledge and reason. But even there, the fear of the unknown held sway.
It's like this constant battle between enlightenment and the darkness of superstition, a battle that played out in Oviedo just like in many other places throughout history.
And it makes you wonder, right? Was it truly about rooting out evil, or was it more about control and power?
Okay, so we've got vengeful spirits, religious zeal, and witch hunts. That's a lot to take in. But wait, there's more. We haven't even touched on the mythical creatures of Asturian folklore.
Oh, yeah. Get ready for some truly bizarre and fascinating creatures. We're talking about Zanas Trasguculebre Guercu. It's like a whole other world of mythology hiding within Oviedo.
Okay, so break it down for me. What are these creatures all about? Let's start with the Zanas. You mentioned they're like fairies.
Right, think enchanting, beautiful creatures who live in the waters around Oviedo, specifically the Laguna de El Fontan and Fuente de El Caño.
So we're talking mystical lagoons, hidden springs, and these alluring beings guarding them. It's pretty magical.
It does, doesn't it? But like most things in folklore, there's a darker side to the Zanas, too.
Ah, I knew there had to be a catch. So these aren't your typical Tinkerbell fairies.
Not quite. While they're known for their beauty and enchanting songs, they're also said to lure unsuspecting travelers to their watery doom.
Okay, so maybe we'll admire these Xanas from a safe distance. Then there are these Trasgu creatures you mentioned. They sound kind of mischievous.
Definitely Trasgu are these little impish creatures. Think house spirits always up to no good.
So basically, if something goes missing in my house, I can just blame it on a Trasgu.
Pretty much. They're known for hiding things, tripping people up, making a general nuisance of themselves. They represent that element of unpredictability, the chaos that can erupt in everyday life.
So it's like a reminder that no matter how much we try to control things, there's always going to be a little bit of mischief and mayhem.
Exactly. And speaking of mischief, our sources connect these Trasgu to the Simavilla Arch, an ancient gateway in Oviedo. Some believe it was a gathering place for those practicing witchcraft and other ancient rituals.
So we've got fairies who might drown you, mischievous house spirits, and a possible connection to witchcraft. This is getting pretty wild.
And we've only just scratched the surface of Asturian folklore. There's also the Cuelogre, a giant serpent said to guard treasure.
A giant serpent guarding treasure. Now that's a classic myth. You see those kinds of stories all over the world.
It speaks to our universal fascination with hidden riches and the dangers that might protect them.
Okay, and then there's this Gurku. Sounds like a mythical wrestler or something.
Okay. Not quite. The Gurku is a wild man of the woods. Think a creature who embodies the untamed spirit of the Asturian wilderness.
So we're talking Bigfoot Sasquatch, a creature of the deep forests.
Kind of, but with a distinctly Asturian flair. He represents the power and mystery of the natural world, something that exists beyond our control.
Okay, so we've gone from fairies to house spirits to a giant serpent and a wild man. It's like Oviedo is a portal to another dimension.
It does feel that way sometimes, doesn't it? It's like all these mythical creatures are just waiting to be discovered around every corner.
I'm starting to think a trip to Oviedo might be more of an adventure than I bargained for.
But it's not all myths and legends. We're also dealing with real history here. And sometimes that history can be just as dark and unsettling as any fictional tale.
You're talking about the devastating fire of 1521, right? That event really seems to have left its mark on Oviedo.
Yeah, the fire destroyed a huge portion of the city, including many important buildings. It was a major turning point in Oviedo's history.
And one of the buildings that survived, though heavily damaged, was the Casa de la Rua.
Right, the Casa de la Rua is a fascinating structure. It's one of the oldest buildings in Oviedo, and it's said to be haunted by those who perished in the fire.
So on top of everything else, we've got ghosts, too. This is getting intense.
Well, it wouldn't be a proper exploration of Oviedo's mysteries without some ghostly encounters.
So what can you tell me about these ghosts? What are they like? What are they doing hanging around the Casa de la Rua?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. And that's a story best saved for the next part of our deep dive.
You're killing me. But okay, listeners, we'll be back soon to uncover the secrets of the Casa de la Rua and delve even deeper into the mysteries of Oviedo. Stay tuned. Okay, so last time we left off with a pretty creepy cliffhanger, a haunted house right in the heart of Oviedo.
Yeah, the Casa de la Rua definitely has a spooky reputation.
And it's not just any ghost story either. It's connected to this major tragedy, the fire of 1521.
Exactly. That fire was a turning point for Oviedo.
Yeah.
It destroyed so much of the city, and it's left this lingering sense of loss and even fear.
It makes you think about how history can really shape a place.
Yeah.
You know, those events from the past? They can leave these echoes that ripple through time.
I agree. It's like the city itself remembers what happened. And those memories, they can manifest in some pretty unexpected ways.
Like ghosts.
Like ghosts. So you've got this beautiful historic building, the Casa de la Rua, one of the few structures that survived the fire. But it's also a place where the past seems to linger, where those who perished in the flames might still be searching for peace.
That's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm starting to realize? Something about all these stories, these legends and mysteries we've been talking about? They're not just scary stories. They're like pieces of a puzzle. They're trying to tell us something about Oviedo.
I think you're right. It's like these tales. They're not just random bits of folklore. They're woven into the fabric of the city. They're part of its identity.
And maybe they're trying to tell us something about ourselves, too. You know, about our fears, our hopes, our connection to the past.
Definitely. Think about those Xanas, for example. The
Yeah.
beautiful fairies who live in the water. They're alluring, but they're also dangerous.
Right. It's like a reminder that nature can be both beautiful and destructive.
Exactly. It's a lesson that's as relevant today as it was centuries ago. And then there are those mischievous Trasgu creatures.
The little house spirits who are always up to no good.
Yeah. They represent that element of chaos and unpredictability in life. You know, the things that we can't control, no matter how much we try.
So it's like they're telling us to lighten up a bit. Don't take things too seriously.
Maybe. So we've got these reminders about the power of nature, the importance of respecting the past, and the need to embrace a little bit of chaos in our lives. And what about that giant serpent guarding treasure, the Quileb?
Oh, yeah. What's the message there? Greed leads to danger.
Perhaps. Or maybe it's about the lengths we'll go to protect the things we value.
And what about the wild man of the woods? The Gurku.
He's a reminder that there are still wild, untamed places in the world. Places that exist beyond our understanding and control.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's like each of these creatures, each of these legends, they're reflecting different aspects of the human experience.
And different aspects of Oviedo's history and culture. It's like they're all connected somehow. These stories, they're not just entertainment, they're a way of understanding the world around us and our place in it.
I like that. It's like Oviedo is this living, breathing storybook, and these legends, they're like chapters in a larger narrative.
Exactly. And who better to guide us through the storybook than a company that specializes in the mysterious side of Oviedo?
You're talking about that Serasturiano tour, right? The one that promises to reveal the hidden secrets of the city.
That's the one. They offer these guided walks that take you to all the spooky spots. We're talking haunted buildings, ancient arches, places where legends were born.
It sounds like the perfect way to experience Oviedo's darker side, to really immerse yourself in the stories we've been talking about.
Imagine standing beneath the Simavilla Arch at night, knowing that it might have been a gathering place for witches and sorcerers.
Or picture yourself at the Casa de la Rua, feeling the chill in the air as you think about the ghosts who might still be wandering the halls.
It sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it.
But what about the people of Oviedo today? Do they actually believe in these stories, or are they seen as more like fun tourist attractions?
It's a mix, I think. For some, these legends are part of their heritage. They're stories that have been passed down through generations. They might not necessarily believe in the literal existence of Trasgu or Xanas, but they recognize the importance of these tales in shaping their cultural identity.
It's like a way of connecting with their past, with their ancestors, with the land itself.
Right. And for others, there might be a lingering belief, a sense that there's more to the world than meets the eye, especially in a place like Oviedo where history and mystery are so intertwined.
There's a part of me that wants to believe, too. After all the research we've done, all the spooky stories we've uncovered, it's hard not to feel like there might be something to these legends.
I know what you mean. It's like Oviedo has this power to awaken our sense of wonder and possibility,
Yeah.
to make us question what we think we know about the world.
Okay, so we've explored the legends, the history, the haunted buildings, but there's still one mystery that we haven't solved. The ghostly monks of the Monastery of San Vicente.
Ah, yes. Those spectral brothers who seem to be stuck in the afterlife.
What's their story? Why are they hanging around the monastery? What are they trying to tell us?
Well, that's a question that we'll have to answer in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, listeners, you heard it here first. The mystery of the ghostly monks continues. Stay tuned because things are about to get even spookier. Okay, so we're back. And we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
Yeah, from haunted cathedrals to mischievous fairies to a giant serpent guarding treasure, Oviedo's got it all.
But we left off with a real cliffhanger. Those ghostly monks at the Monastery of San Vicente.
Ah, yes, those spectral brothers still roaming the halls even after all these centuries.
It's like they clocked out of life but forgot to punch out of work.
Something like that. Maybe they're just really dedicated to their monastic duties.
Or maybe there's something else keeping them tethered to this world.
Yeah,
Some unfinished business.
that's what the legends say. Some whisper of broken vows, secrets hidden within the monastery walls.
Ooh, secrets. Now you've got my attention. What kind of secrets are we talking about here?
Well, that's the mystery, isn't it? Some stories hint at forbidden romances. Others suggest there might be hidden treasure tucked away somewhere in the monastery.
A treasure hunt. Now that's an adventure I can get behind.
But even if there's no actual gold or jewels, the idea itself is intriguing. The notion that there are things concealed from the world waiting to be discovered.
It's like a real-life Da Vinci Code, except with monks instead of symbologists.
Exactly. And these secrets, they seem to be powerful enough to keep those monks from finding peace in the afterlife.
So they're trapped there, bound to the monastery by whatever it is they're hiding.
It's a reminder that the past can have a hold on us, even after we're gone. Sometimes those unresolved issues, those secrets we keep, they can weigh us down.
It's like they're saying, hey, don't let the past define you.
Maybe they're trying to warn us to live our lives with honesty and integrity, so we don't end up as restless spirits haunting some ancient monastery.
Okay, that's a little too spooky for me. I think I'll stick to being a living, breathing mystery enthusiast.
But what's interesting about these ghostly monks? It's not just about the secrets they might be guarding. It's about what their presence tells us about the monastery itself.
What do you mean?
Well, monasteries, they're supposed to be these places of peace and contemplation, right? But here we have these restless spirits, these hints of scandal and intrigue.
So it's like there's this hidden layer to the monastery's history.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even the most sacred places can have their dark corners. Those shadows where secrets hide and where the past refuses to let go.
And maybe that's part of what makes Oviedo so fascinating. This city, it's like a tapestry woven with threads of history, mystery, and legend.
It's a place where the lines between reality and folklore blur, where the past and present collide, and where those ancient stories, they continue to captivate and inspire us.
Where I don't know about you, but I'm officially hooked on Oviedo.
Me too. It's a city that stays with you long after you've left.
And to all our listeners out there, if you're looking for an adventure, a place where history and mystery collide, Oviedo is calling your name.
And if you're brave enough to explore its darker side, you might just uncover a few secrets of your own.
So keep an open mind, keep your sense of wonder, and most importantly, keep exploring.
Because who knows what mysteries are waiting to be discovered just around the corner.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the mysteries and legends of Oviedo. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and maybe keep a nightlight on, just in case those ghostly monks decide to pay you a visit.